Hey guys, today we're going to be meal prepping for the week to make things a little bit easier. The first meal I'm making is a super creamy Tuscan chicken. And I'm going to start by adding about 2 tablespoons of olive oil to 2 separate pans and get that warmed up over medium heat. And while that's warming, I'm going to go ahead and start seasoning the chicken tenderloins just a little bit. I find for us about 3 pounds works well for our family of 5 to have meals for about 2 days. I'm just adding some salt, and this is where you would want to add pepper, but my husband can't have it. I'm cooking mine about 4 minutes per side, but if you wanted it to be a little bit more crispy, you could definitely continue cooking it. I like mine to be a little bit more tender. Next, I'm gonna cut up 1 onion, and I do have a method to create really even pieces. I'm just gonna slice the top off, careful to leave the root on, remove the skin, and then start making these slices all the way around the onion and then cut it from the bottom. Once my chicken is done, I'm going to go ahead and remove those and throw in about 2 tablespoons of butter per pan. Throw the onions back in the pan as well to saute them, definitely scraping all those brown bits to soak up that flavor. Now I'm going to go ahead and crush about 10 cloves of garlic, and we're going to divide those between the 2 pans. The next ingredient I'm adding in are sun-dried tomatoes, and I prefer to try to find ones that are chopped in oil because I just want to reduce the amount of work I have. I'm going to get those drained, and I didn't have the appropriate strainer, so I'm using my hands, but to be honest, I use my hands for everything in the kitchen. Yes, I touch raw chicken with my hands. Let me know in the comments because people feel real strong about this. Will you touch raw chicken with your hands? Yes or no? Anyways, the next ingredient we're adding in is chicken broth. We're going to add 3/4 cup in between the 2 pans if you are using 2 pans, and let that cook down just a little bit. You can't have creamy Tuscan chicken without the cream, so I'm pouring about 2.5 cups of heavy cream between the 2 pans. I'm going to continue to remind you of that, and I promise you that cream was not rancid. I just wasn't mixed very well. Anyways, you're going to bring that to a simmer, and I want to make sure that it's really blended. I want to see those bubbles, start to see everything incorporate well. Then I know I can move on. So this is the point where you would want to kind of test your saltiness, add in any extra salt or pepper that you want, give it a good stir, and then we're going to add in 6 cups of spinach, again, between the 2 pans, and let that wilt down. And finally, to this dish, I'm going to add 1 cup of shredded parm. I do like to go ahead and get it shredded, again, to save time. We're going to mix that in, and then once we do that, it's nice and incorporated, I'm going to add all of that chicken back into the pan, coat it well, and then let it cook just a little bit to really bring out the flavor. Pair this with whatever side you want to make if you are meal prepping this, but we did some cauliflower rice. This was a little bit of a heavier dish, having the cream and the cheese in it, so I wanted to make sure that we did some extra veggies in here, and so I'm adding about 1 cup of cauliflower rice to each little individual meal prep container, and I do try to, again, keep it simple. I use the steamable bags, and that really helps save a lot of time just to get it frozen. So our family's meal prepped for a long time, but it definitely looks a lot different now. I used to cook Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then just make double portions, but I just started doing the individual portions, and I much prefer that. I feel like we have so much less food waste, and I'm only cooking 1 day a week now. So I cook for about 4 hours every Tuesday and have 1 hour of cleanup, and then I am done for the week. And the containers I bought make such a huge difference because you can freeze them. So say you think that maybe you haven't kind of added your portions right, you can just stick it in the freezer, no problem. They come in so many different colors, and they come in packs of 10, I think, for like $35 with 5 large and 5 small. They're pretty lightweight, and I think that they can go in the oven up to 700 degrees. So I'm really loving this. It's giving me back so much time with my family, I feel like. Anyways, I'll leave the link to them in the description. Now it's time for egg waffles. These things are amazing. If you have a child who you do not want using the stove and they want to make themselves breakfast in the morning, this is a great option. It literally takes 20 seconds per egg to cook. And one of these little mini waffles, I think they were like $10 at Target. So highly recommend that. Super easy for meal prep. Honestly, I kind of want a bigger waffle maker now just so I can make a whole bunch at one time. So now to pair with our egg waffles, I'm cutting up about, I think it's 3 pounds of potatoes, and I had a couple russet potatoes left over from Christmas. So I'm going to get those cut up and divided because our family likes them 2 different ways. Part of our family likes them just with sea salt, and the other part of our family likes them a little bit more spicy, and that other part of the family is me. So I'm going to add some Cajun seasoning to this as well. Just about every week, I roast an entire pint, if not 2 pints of tomatoes with a ton of garlic cloves. I fill it up with olive oil in those, actually, in the meal prep containers I was showing you guys earlier, in the small ones. And then I roast that. And what's really great about that is not only can you use them in so many dishes, the tomatoes and the garlic, but you're also creating an infused olive oil at the same time. So I'm actually going to use that olive oil in a dish later on in this video. Pour that all over it.
Oh, yummy. Ew! Do you even like that stuff? I don't like that stuff.
Okay, so not everyone is a fan, but most of us are in our family. Kids and veggies, am I right? So we're gonna get those put in the oven. It's at 400 for 40 minutes. And when it comes out, or when it's done, I should say, it's gonna be nice and bubbly like this. And this is how I put this meal together. I like to mix it all up to get equal flavor bites. And then we're gonna go ahead and fill up our food prep containers. I definitely just ordered more because whatever food prep containers you think you're gonna need for meal prep, you need like triple the amount. So I'm also using some that are divided, and those I like. Okay, I like that they're divided, but the lids don't close really easy, so they're fine. I'll leave a link to them as well if you want divided ones. Sorry for all the dings. I had some text messages coming through. One of my friends just had her little boy, so our group text is going a little crazy right now. So the next dish we're making is a balsamic fig chicken thigh, and I'm starting off by adding that garlic infused olive oil that we made for our breakfast meal into 2 cast iron skillets. These need to be oven safe because this dish is going to go on the oven to finish up cooking. I'm going to cook those about 4 minutes and then get them set aside, and then I'm going to start on creating some flavor. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of mustard to a little dish, and then I'm going to also add in 3 tablespoons of this savory fig balsamic. If you can't find fig balsamic, regular balsamic is fine as well. You actually don't have to do figs at all with this recipe. It can work out nicely. Just add in some honey and it would give the same, I think, effect. But instead of using whole figs this time, I decided to use a fig jam that I had left over from Christmas, and it worked out wonderfully. I just omitted the honey that I would normally use, and it was absolutely delicious. We're actually still eating on it right now. And then I'm going to start working on getting some shallots chopped up. You could also add just onions if you prefer. Really, whatever you have on hand is going to work well for you, but we just did onions, so I wanted to switch it up a little bit. And I had these again from Christmas, and that's one of the things I love about meal prep is I try to just use the ingredients that I have on hand, and that helps me to really get creative with my dishes. And then I'm also going to crush about 5 cloves of garlic. We did use that infused garlic, so I didn't want to overpower it too much because garlic really isn't like the main flavor note in this dish, so I decided just to add 5 instead of 10. between the two pans and let that saute down. And then I'm also going to add in some thyme. Now you can use fresh thyme, dried thyme. You can actually just throw in the whole sprig, or you can take the time to pick it off, about 2 tablespoons if you do pick it off, or I'm sorry, teaspoons if you do pick it off. Anyways, we're gonna let that cook down, add in the sauce that we made, and then we're also going to add in about 1 cup of chicken broth. So that would be about 2 cups of chicken broth per 3 pounds of chicken, however you decide to divide that and cook it. And then we're going to put in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes, and look how delicious this looks. And then I'm also going to cook some rice off camera because no one wants to see me cook rice. It's not very entertaining. And then get that meal all prepped and ready to go. You guys can see I was starting to run out of containers here, so I started to use some non-conventional containers that I wouldn't normally use for meal prep that don't really stack well. Anyways, no worries, I've got more coming in. We're gonna top it with all of that juice because you gotta let the juice loose, you know? Because I filmed this meal prep, it did take me 2 days, so the fridge is gonna look a little bit leaner than what it would normally look after a meal prep, but this is how it was looking. So the meals we're getting into today are a Tuscan chicken, or a Tuscan chicken, yeah,